Trans joy is resistance. Trans joy is community. Trans joy is here with our weekly social support group. Join us for a welcoming and affirming space where trans, non-binary, and gender diverse individuals can connect, share, and support one another. We will have peer-led discussions, social connection, and mutual support in a space where you can be heard, celebrated, and uplifted. No RSVP needed, just show up and be you. We'll gather every Thursday from 5 to 7 p.m. at Roots Market. For more info, click on the link in our show notes.
You cannot afford any longer to not support more Indigenous, Black, immigrant, and LGBTQ plus relatives. You need to come take your place inside this. Because when the hammer of injustice someplace, it will then turn to you. And you are going to wish that there were some of us there to stand beside you. But it will be too late.
Hi everyone, how's it going? I'm Bonnie Violet. I'm a trans femme, genderqueer, spiritual drag artist, digital chaplain living in Boise, Idaho.
And I'm Pacey. I'm a trans masc, non-binary, mental health and recovery advocate.
And welcome to Trans Joy Boise, the podcast where we celebrate the vibrant stories, resilience, and connections of Boise's trans community. Through heartfelt conversations, uplifting narratives, and shared experiences, we explore the many ways trans joy thrives despite challenges.
Each episode highlights inspiring voices from local advocates and artists to everyday heroes, showcasing the beauty and strength of being trans in Boise and beyond. Together, we foster understanding, amplify voices, and create a space for joy, healing, and solidarity.
Tune in, connect, and celebrate with us. Trans joy is here, and yes, it's unstoppable.
Mm-hmm.
Woohoo!
I like that.
Yes, welcome everyone. So glad that you found us here today.
Mm-hmm.
We just got back from the rally, the 50 states, was it called 50 and 50?
Yeah, I believe
50
so.
and 50 states rally, which we'll talk a little bit more about. So I apologize if you hear the fringe, but I wore this to the rally and thought I'd wear it now too. So bear with us.
It's your advocacy jacket.
Yes, I know. I can't wait to get some patches on it.
Hell yeah.
It was a drag look, but I think it's going to be my rally look.
No,
now.
I think it's perfect for that.
Yes.
And, it's fine if we hear the jingle jangles.
Right. Well, and I was like, I didn't know who was all going to come out to the rally.
Mm-hmm.
I figured it was going to be like a big group of folks. Like I didn't see it as being like a bunch of trans people or even queer people. And so I kind of wanted to find a way to kind of stand out a little bit, I guess, within the mix of folks.
Yeah, it was a really interesting group of people. It was super inclusive. I saw people from all walks of life there, and there was a huge amount of trans support there, which I thought was really cool. Even people that were wearing like Veterans for Harris, like shirts like that, or Veterans Against Trump, were supporting trans people. And I think that is really powerful because their voices are going to be heard in certain circles that ours might not be.
Yeah. And can you tell a little bit about kind of like what the 50 and 50 state rally is all about, kind of like how it got started?
Yeah, it seems really cool, and I'm glad that it really kind of took hold here. I really follow the news closely here and in Reno, because I'm from Reno, and it seems like at the same time in all capital cities across the country, people were at similar rallies. And it was basically their ideology is not so much left-leaning or liberals versus Republicans, right-wing. It's Americans versus this new administration and what's happening.
And basically the Project 2025.
Yeah, specifically Project 2025.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting. It's interesting, but it's also a little frustrating to see all of these people that are very against Project 2025. And we were like, well, maybe you should read about Project 2025 before you vote. And then they didn't. And now it's everyone's problem. So it's nice to see all these people very passionate about fighting it, but it's also a little, regretful that it's like, well, where was this energy
Right.
when it really mattered?
Well, and even one of the speakers, actually a trans speaker, mentioned that as well, how they were aware of Project 2025, much like myself, but didn't really see it actually happening. And now that it's happening, everyone's just kind of like, oh shit, like, like for me too, like you're the one who told me about it happening locally. I think I saw like one TikTok, but I mostly saw it from other states. So like Sister Roma, my drag child, John Brett out of the Bay Area, I saw them posting a lot about it.
Yeah.
So I was glad that it was actually part of other cities too, because I think that's how I got to hear a little bit more about it. But yeah, it was really great. And then there was a bunch of other rallies and things happening at the same time. Like I know Poder had like a press conference on the 4th floor, kind of talking around local immigration issues. I went up there for a little bit and heard testimony, which was just really fantastic.
Yeah, what was that? Because I didn't get a chance to go inside.
Yeah, so basically they were up on the 4th floor, and it was a press conference, so they were just standing at a mic, and they had a couple. I just went up there and caught the tail end of one of the people that were speaking, that was just talking about, I think that one of the things that really stood out to me was that they were talking about like how, like they're going to come from like the immigrants first, but then it's going to be like, basically it got to the point where it was like, they mentioned LGBTQ folks and immigrants, whether you're documented or not documented, other people of color. And then they got to, and like white people who are poor, like they're like, eventually it's going to get to you, And so those are things that they need to kind of like keep in mind as well.
Yeah, it's interesting because right now a lot of people are realizing that their documentation is in jeopardy. With like name changes, gender marker changes on driver's license, social security, passports, even though you can't even do those on the social security and passports anymore. But I've heard people saying like this is an attempt to make it so you can't verify or prove that you're a citizen in this country. So then that's a fucking terrifying thought, that they could potentially be trying to come up with reasons to send people to Guantanamo Bay.
Well, and I mean, and I think the thing around documents, basically like if you're brown skinned person, people are gonna, especially around here, I've always heard that, like just people being racist about the idea that they must be illegals or blah, 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 regardless if they are or not. Like, even if people quote unquote do it the right way, they still are going to be potentially at risk too, because a lot of, I've seen stuff where people, just regular Joe Schmoes, decide they want to like confront somebody and say you're illegal and call the police or whatever, and they're not even illegal, like they're not. I hate that. I hate the language when we're talking about this, because we're talking about people. We're talking about like human beings, and
they're not illegal.
It's labeled in such ways that make it really gross to attempt to talk about, for sure. Well, and I was listening, like, so Venezuela was a country that actually kind of was immune somewhat, my understanding, to a lot of the immigration stuff that's been happening, specifically with like Latinos, and like from like South America, and all that. And I feel like I'm like messing up my words, but my understanding, Venezuela somehow was kind of like not included in a lot of, and I'm probably getting my geography wrong, but now those, I believe that's changed now with a lot of the new immigration stuff as well.
I would imagine. And I've been reading a lot about people that are legal citizens here that are being detained and arrested because of profiling, and they then have to prove that they live here legally, when that should never happen. So it isn't just, I've seen some people, and I even had to unfriend some people that were like, guys, ICE is only going after like the violent criminal illegal aliens. And I'm like, that's gross.
But they've been saying people who aren't here legally are criminals in and of itself.
Exactly.
Like that's how they've been labeling it. So, and kind of working around that whole idea.
It's a slippery slope.
Very much.
Because I think that when Trump was, campaigning, he was saying, well, we're going to get rid of the criminals, like the people that are harming U.S. citizens. And now that he's gotten so much support, he's like, well, they are criminals if they're here. And it's like, okay, well,
Right.
which is it? So now it's like, it's a very dangerous time to be a person of color in this country.
Yeah.
Just full stop.
Yeah. And I was listening to this CityCast Boise podcast earlier today, as well as the Brown Sound podcast, which is also like an Idaho-based podcast. And they both had Ruby from Poder on there. And one of the things, and the ACLU, and one of the things that what's important for people to understand that I wanted to pass on was just the rights that individuals have. So if you are a person who kind of gets stopped by ICE, or that you still are the police, that you have the same rights as any other person. So you have the right to remain silent. You don't have to answer, like, you have the right to remain silent. I'm trying to remember what the other ones were. I swear until I started talking about it, I knew. But you have the right to remain silent. You don't have to like consent to like a strip,
any kind of
or any sort of search,
like you or your property.
Exactly. And you have a right to a lawyer. And they said, do not sign anything unless you're next to a lawyer, or you have a lawyer that reads it first. And those were like 3 things that they said that were really important. And just like a lot of us are doing, as well as having some sort of like an emergency plan for your family, so that if one of the family members ends up getting picked up or disappears for a little while, or maybe both of the parents, people know who needs to pick up the kids, or I know, it sounds really wild, but it's just the reality of what we're living in right now, and again, I think with the immigrant population, it's really easy to see that right now. But I think with the passports, with non-binary folks in particular, and maybe even trans folks, I think we're going to begin to see that's like kind of like it echo out into other populations of folks here real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the veil is like, the mask has dropped from Trump, and people are starting to realize that they were just a pawn in his game. Like, to get elected, if he didn't hack the computers, right? This whole fucking thing. But they're realizing that no one is safe right now. I mean, there are people that we've talked about before that are going to be losing their life-saving insurance because he's just cutting the funding for it. Right. And I think that really kind of highlights the importance of events like today, that's trying to unite everyone just as people, as Americans, as citizens in this country, trying to fight against this fascist leadership.
And we'll put in the show links, the links to the 2 podcasts that I mentioned, so you can get a little bit more information. Don't take it just from me. Please learn a little bit more about it. But I think the other thing that was interesting today was, it's hard when a rally is happening in the middle of the day during the week to get people to come out. But I was at the Women's March, we both were, and I feel like there was just as many people at the Women's March, which was on a weekend, as was there today. Would you say that?
I would say, yeah, there was a significant amount of people.
Yeah, today. I mean, I guess we could be in the street with the Women's March, right?
Yeah.
So the Women's March might have been slightly bigger, but it was pretty close to about the same.
And this one was growing as it went on.
Yeah.
When I first got there, like, there weren't very many people in the street at all. Like, they didn't even really have it blocked off yet with the cop cars.
Right.
But by the end of it, it was all over. And it seems like they're trying to get more and more people to turn out, like some of the bigger cities have been. And I think that that's fantastic. We really need that. And it seems like people like Jackie, one of the speakers today, said that she wasn't super worried about Project 2025 when she heard about it, because she said that doesn't happen here.
Yeah.
And so many people believed that. And I mean, even me, I was very concerned with Project 2025. I was yelling it from the rooftops to anyone who would listen.
Yeah.
But I still had this thought in the back of my mind, like, well, we should be safe though, right? Because this is
should
America.
Be able to stop that, right?
Yeah, like, we have people in place. We have checks and balances to prevent something like that from ever happening here. And then all of my worst fears have just been coming true.
Yeah.
But I understand when people say, like, well, that'll never happen here. I understand why they thought that. So seeing it,
it's unfathomable for most of us, because we've never had to experience it before, and that's not to say, like, I'm sure that the immigrant population has been experiencing this sort of fear, especially undocumented folks, for a lot longer than just right now. I think that's something that's important to say. I remember Ruby was talking about that idea, like in my understanding, I've never experienced anything like this, but those who have experienced it, they might have a whole nother take about it. So yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing is we feel like this, I think there's this feeling of like this is brand new. We weren't aware of these sorts of things, but a lot of these issues have been issues already and have been for years, you know, and I think in some ways they're just kind of getting exponentially worse in a way in which people are actually like paying attention. I mean, I think in the long run, it might actually end up biting them in the ass, because I think they're fueling a lot of people to get up and get out in the streets. And also I think even to learn about other issues and other experiences that people are going through that are different from themselves.
Yeah, it's causing people to unite. People that wouldn't usually typically come together. And I think I've been seeing a lot of people even who voted for Trump who are starting to say, I regret it, which is something you would never expect to hear from certain people like that. But you see it a lot now. And I think that the only way that we're really going to be able to fight any of this is by coming together.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievable that it's happening so quickly.
Yeah.
You know,
some days after that.
Yeah,
I mean, that's 53. Like early March, right?
Yeah, and just imagine like that many more days, another month and a half.
And another month,
yeah, of this. It's totally believable, you know? And then I've been here, oh my gosh, another thing is the people that have been saying you're overreacting. Or here again, some of my partner's fucking friends are still saying like, well, that'll never happen here. And it's so frustrating because they won't get it through their head. It's like they are being willfully ignorant at this point because they don't read about Guantanamo Bay. They don't read about any of these things. And then it's like, what do you need? What is it going to take for certain people to realize that this is serious?
Okay. Until it's knocking on your front door, unfortunately. A lot of people don't pay attention. And that's too bad. But we also did our best to get some audio and video from today too. So are we putting that at the end of this, the beginning of this, or?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit of both.
All right. Yeah. You'll just have to wait to see. And maybe you have already seen it and you're like, what is this girl talking about?
Yeah.
We've already seen all this footage.
It was good though. Like walking through the crowd, seeing all the different, some of the signs were fantastic. And there was a table there where they brought poster board and markers so you could make a sign. So I made
And what did yours say?
We won't be erased. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's hopeful, but it's also scary to be living through this right now.
Yeah.
And the things that it just keeps coming in waves.
Yeah.
Every time I look at my phone, there's something new. And there's going to be a moment where more people are realizing how bad it is, because over lunch, I was telling you about a bill that has been introduced in Oklahoma that starts off talking about like preventing child pornography. And you're like, well, yeah, of course I'm on board with that.
Right.
But near the end of it, they just slip in this little paragraph that's like any pornographic material will be outlawed and you could be punished with jail time. And that includes what they call open door romances, where basically you know about what's happening in a bedroom. You're reading it. So smut, essentially, is going to be criminalized. So that's what they want. So that is a huge step of attacking like the trans and queer community to attacking everybody.
Yeah.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Big news, Boise. We're building something incredible. A private community for Trans Joy Boise is set to launch next month. This is your chance to sign up and get in on the ground floor. We are creating a space for connection, support, and growth, and we are looking for members who want to be a part of something special and professionals passionate about hosting webinars, leading in-person events, moderating discussions, and sharing expertise to enrich the trans community. If this sounds like you or someone you know, don't wait. Fill out our form located in the show notes and help us add value to this vibrant space before we officially open the doors. You know, and those things are going to be becoming more common. And everyone else is going to be like, oh shit. And that's when we're going to get even more people at the events like today.
Yeah. And so I think a takeaway too for folks from like is like, I would encourage you that if you do have an opportunity that you can go to one of these march or rallies, that you can feel safe and all that sort of stuff. I would encourage you to do it. It was great just to be around people, like-minded people, and just kind of soak up on some of that. It kind of helps, I think, widen my worldview that can get to be so small. And one of the things I wanted to also speak to is like, support and feeling connected during this time is so, so important. And last week I was very sick from Tuesday to Saturday. But we had our first social support group on Thursday night, and you got to do that all by yourself.
Yeah. And it was great. It was a really good time. I think that everyone that was there really just needed to be around people that were sharing a similar experience.
Right.
So,
and not to say like anything specific, but there was a local person, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know if you wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, no, we opened it up to the community because the community experienced a loss last week, and everyone has been kind of reeling from that. And I think that it's important to honor this person's memory.
Yes.
But it's also important to be very aware and vocal that things are hard and they're scary right now.
And their support.
We're here. There are so many people that are here.
Yeah.
And if you need to talk and you're feeling hopeless, there are people that want to help you.
Yeah. And I would just encourage you that I know not everyone who listens to our podcast or who comes across this is in the Boise area. Right. So I would encourage you to find a support group in your local area, or maybe even consider starting one. We're just two average people.
Yeah. Totally.
And we're not claiming to have it's not a therapeutic group. It's just us getting together socially as a way to connect. So, I mean, I think I would encourage people to create opportunities. Even if it's not something that's open to the public, even if it's just that you reach out to your group of friends and you invite everybody over and have coffee or have a meal or something like that. I think it's really important for us to get out of our little worlds and connect with one another.
Oh yeah, it was great just because there wasn't anyone there that was saying, well, maybe you're overreacting, or like trying to defend the people that were harassing us, that we were maybe talking about. And that's really nice because I'm so sick of that. And I've been noticing in the last week, especially, it's just been getting unbelievable with the looks I get in public and the harassment online, and people are just so loud about it now. And I know that that's only going to continue to escalate. And that scares me for a couple of reasons, like for our safety, of course, but also mental health. I mean, we experienced that loss. I think that if people are already struggling with mental illness and, depression, even on a good day, it's hard.
Yeah.
But when you're surrounded by all of this hate, I mean, that's just, it's unbearable.
Yep. And isolation really feeds into that, and the inability to be able to talk about something. Yeah. If you can even just talk to one person about what you're thinking, what you're feeling, that can begin to take the power and the intensity away from that particular feeling. So if you can and you're able, try to at least at a minimum talk to one other person, even if it's over the phone or over, like Zoom or something. I think could be even helpful. I think probably even writing it out in a journal is something that is fairly accessible. I think that you might want to consider if you're, finding yourself in those feelings even right now, as well as there's, hotlines and stuff that you can reach out to too.
Yeah. So it's good. I think I would really encourage people to attend if they can. It's a good time just to be around people. And it was like where we're having it is wonderful. The folks that work there are fantastic.
Yes.
And it's good coffee.
Yeah. And encourage people again to continue to kind of go out and be in the world, kind of like let life go anyway. Sometimes it can feel silly to like go to a drag show or go do something fun. Like we're going to go to a drag show this weekend. We're an official sponsor of the Exotica show, which is the first people of color drag and burlesque variety show in Boise, Idaho, and it's it's hosted and produced by our good friend Frida Knights. There's a number of amazing other trans performers that are also there. So that's on Saturday night at the Balcony Club. You can find more information about that. But again, if you're not in the Boise area, see what's happening in your community and go be a part of it if you can. And then I was thinking we're also putting on a show, the Goodbye Love drag and variety show on February 15th, which is a post-Valentine's show. It's a way for us to raise money for Trans Joy Boise. And also we're going to use it as an opportunity. Rent, the musical and the show is really all about, it centers really HIV and AIDS and kind of like, I think, marginalized experiences and housing. And so we're really going to try to use it as an opportunity to also inform people. We're hoping to get about 250 people to come. And we want to have information to help people understand the housing concerns right now. And hopefully, maybe even some things around like about all the issues that are happening right now. So, and then we are doing a wedding.
Yes.
We're getting to host a trans wedding, which I think we mentioned on the last podcast, but everything is a go. So it's really, really exciting. I got to meet with the couple earlier this week, and this is something that the community is doing. So, we're looking to have people come to our Trans Joy Boise Cafe, which is on February the 22nd. And part of that would be setting up and getting ready for this wedding that everyone is invited to. And so if you're wanting to get involved and just, again, be around community in a positive way, we would encourage you to learn about the cafe and come for that as well. We're also working on having some like family court kind of paperwork opportunities. But anyway, I don't know. I just kind of felt like to put some of that stuff out.
Totally.
I see a lot of trans and non-binary folks doing amazing stuff. Both locally as well as around the globe. So if you're like, just look in your area, look for hashtag trans or, I'm sure there's ways that you can find out what's happening in your local area so that you can go and again, just be a part of community. It's good for you and it's good for your community.
I agree. And I think, I'm really excited about this wedding.
Me too.
I think that, right now everyone is feeling so burdened by everything that's going on. And it's like every time you look at the news, it's more people just telling you that they don't think you should exist and just all this onslaught of all this negative bullshit. And I think that the community really needs something positive because this wedding is happening, in my opinion, like in fucking spite of it all. Like you can't tell us who to love. You can't tell us who we are. We are who we are. We love who we love, and we will, no matter what you say. And I think that having the community come together to not only, attend this wedding, but to put it together and, celebrate is going to be really just beautiful. And we desperately need things like that right now.
And this is a newer, it's a newer family to the area as well. And so I think it's a really great opportunity for us to, as a community, to welcome them to the community and let them know that like, we're here for you.
Exactly.
And it goes further than maybe just their besties or maybe some of their family members, but actually there's a village of us that are out here looking out for one another.
Exactly. So I hope that people will decide to attend because I know I'm really excited.
It is open to the public. So come one, come all.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, are we feeling like that's an episode?
I feel good about that. Today was good. It was a nice source of hope and light in an otherwise pretty bleary time.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, and we'll
catch you in the next episode. Or if you see us out in public, say hello.
Or if you go to Exotica, we will be there.
Yes, I'm going to be ice.
And I will be fire.
You're like, I will be fire.
My partner has told me that they are going to do my makeup.
Yes,
so.
Fire and ice is the theme. So if you do happen to come out, maybe think of fire or ice or both in your attire.
Yeah, we would love to see you because it's going to be funny. So.
We'll have a booth, so stop by, say hello. But blah, 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 blah.
Sounds good.
Blah, 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 blah.
Perfect.
Bye-bye.
Perfect. It was perfect timing too.